Armin was tired. After a long day of meetings and phone calls, he sat behind the wheel of his expensive car, ready to go home. The city lights were bright, but his mind was somewhere else, on his work, his company, and the life he had built. As a millionaire CEO, Armin was used to success and power, but today something unusual stopped him in his tracks. As he drove through a busy street, he noticed a woman standing near the corner holding 4 tiny babies. The woman was begging for money, her face tired and dirty. Her clothes were old and torn. She looked so small and fragile against the cold night air. Armin's heart suddenly skipped a beat. There was something familiar about her. His eyes focused on her more closely. The woman's face was worn by pain and struggle, but it was the face of Zara, his ex-wife. He blinked, unable to believe what he saw. Zara, the woman he once loved deeply, was now begging on the street, and she was carrying their quadruplets, their 4 little babies. Armin felt a sharp pain in his chest. How had this happened? How had Zara fallen so far? The memories flooded back, the days when they were happy, planning their future, dreaming of a family. Now, that dream seemed broken. He slowed his car and pulled to the side of the road. People passed by, some throwing coins into Zara's small cup, others ignoring her completely. No one really looked at her with kindness except for the babies who were too young to understand the world around them. Armin sat quietly, his mind racing with questions. Why was Zara begging? What had happened to her? Why wasn't he told? And most importantly, what could he do now? The street noise was loud, but Armin's thoughts were louder. He remembered the last time he saw Zara. They had argued, hurt by mistakes and pride. He thought their separation was the end of their problems, but seeing her like this, struggling, alone with 4 babies, made him realize how wrong he was. He wanted to get out of the car and help, but fear and confusion held him back. What would Zara say? Would she want his help after everything? Armin watched as Zara tried to calm the babies, some crying softly in the cold. Her eyes were red, and tears mixed with dirt on her cheeks. She looked tired, but there was a strength in her too, a mother's love fighting against the hard world. The cars kept moving, people kept walking, but for Armin, time stopped. He whispered to himself, how did things go so wrong? Suddenly, Zara looked up and caught his eyes. For a moment, everything was silent. Her face showed surprise, sadness, and maybe a little hope. Armin's heart broke again. He knew this was just the beginning of a long story, one filled with pain, regrets, and maybe a chance to heal. The night was cold, but inside Armin, a fire was burning, a fire to fix what was broken, to protect Zara and their babies. To do what he should have done long ago, Armin took a deep breath. He opened the car door and stepped out. His first words were soft, but full of meaning. Zara, I'm here. Let me help. Zara's eyes widened. She didn't speak. The babies looked up at Armin, their small hands reaching out. Around them, the city kept moving, unaware of the small moment that could change everything. Armin didn't know what would happen next, but he knew one thing. He couldn't turn away now. For the first time in a long time, he felt something stronger than success. He felt responsibility, he felt love, and he was ready to fight for his family, no matter the cost. Armin stood close to Zara, still holding the door of his car open. The cold night air wrapped around them, but inside something heavier was pressing down. Years of silence, pain, and distance. Zara looked at Armin with tired eyes. She said nothing at first, just shook her head slowly. The babies were restless, crying softly, and she tried to comfort them with gentle rocking. Her hands trembled. Armin felt a lump in his throat. He wanted to ask so many questions. Why had she come to this? Why had she hidden everything from him? But words felt useless in that moment. Finally, Zara spoke, her voice low and broken. I didn't want you to see me like this. I thought I could manage alone. Armin nodded, understanding more than she said. He remembered the fights, the nights filled with anger and silence. He remembered how they drifted apart, how life pulled them in different directions. "Why didn't you tell me you were struggling?" he asked quietly. Zara looked away, tears forming in her eyes. "I was ashamed. I wanted to be strong for the babies, but everything fell apart after you left." Armin's heart twisted. The pain in her voice was real, raw. She wasn't just a woman begging on the street. She was a mother fighting to survive. He took a step closer and gently placed his hand on her shoulder. "We can fix this, Zara. I'll help you. We can do it together." Zara's eyes searched his face, full of doubt but also a flicker of hope. She wanted to believe him, but years of struggle had made her cautious. "I don't know if I can trust you anymore," she whispered. Armin nodded. "Knowing trust isn't given, it's earned. I'll prove it. For the babies. For us." The babies stirred in Zara's arms, one reaching out to Armin. The sight melted his heart. These little lives depended on them both now. Armin opened the car door wider. "Come inside. Let's get you and the babies warm." Zara hesitated. The street was cold and cruel, but so was the fear inside her. Finally, she took a deep breath and stepped into the car. The warmth inside was a sharp contrast to the cold outside. The babies quieted. As the heater's warmth wrapped around them, Armin looked at Zara, wanting to say more, but the silence spoke louder. It was the beginning of something, a chance to heal wounds that had been hidden for too long. As the car moved away from the street, Armin glanced at Zara. "Tell me everything," he said gently. "I want to understand." Zara's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. "I'll tell you everything, from the start." Armin listened closely, hearing stories of hard days and lonely nights, of lost jobs, failed hopes, and the struggle to keep the babies fed and safe. Each word broke his heart. He wished he had known sooner, wished he had been there when she needed him most. But now was not the time for regrets. Now was the time to As the city lights blurred outside the window, two broken souls began to find a small, fragile hope. And deep inside Armin, a promise grew stronger. He would never let his family suffer again. The next morning, the sunlight streamed softly through the large windows of Armin's mansion. For the first time in a long while, the house felt different, alive yet fragile. Zara sat quietly on the couch, the quadruplets playing nearby with colorful toys Armin had brought. Armin watched them all, feeling a mix of hope and fear. Could this really be a fresh start? Or was it just a brief moment before everything fell apart again? Zara looked up and met his eyes. "Thank you for last night," she said softly. "I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't stopped." Armin smiled gently, trying to hide the ache in his chest. "We're family, Zara. We have to take care of each other." Zara nodded, but there was still sadness in her gaze. She looked tired, more tired than Armin had ever seen her. As the babies gurgled and laughed, Armin's mind raced. There were so many questions. How did Zara end up here? What had caused the distance between them, and most importantly, how could he help them now? He decided to start by listening. Zara took a deep breath and began to tell her story. After their divorce, things had been hard. Armin was busy with work, traveling to meetings and managing his companies. Zara tried to manage the babies alone. But money was tight. Without a stable job and with little family support, the struggle was real. She tried everything: cleaning houses, selling small things in the market, begging sometimes. But the quadruplets needed constant care, and it was too much for one person. She admitted feeling lost, scared, and ashamed to ask for help. Every day was a fight to keep going. Armin felt a deep pain hearing this. He had been so caught up in his world that he had missed her suffering. It was a harsh reminder that wealth and success didn't protect anyone from pain. "I should have been there for you," Armin said quietly. "I'm sorry, Zara. I didn't know how much you were struggling." Zara shook her head gently. "It's not just you. It's life. But maybe now things can change." Armin looked at the babies playing, happily, and smiled. "They deserve the best. I promise I'll do everything I can to make their lives better. Over the next days, Armin arranged for medical checkups for the babies and hired a nanny to help Zara. He also started spending more time with them, showing Zara he was serious about helping. Zara slowly began to trust him again. She saw that he wasn't just offering money, he was offering support and love. One afternoon, as they all sat together, Zara smiled for the first time in months. "Maybe this is a new beginning," she said softly. Armin nodded, feeling hopeful, but knowing the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Trust needed time to grow, and wounds needed time to heal. But for now they had each other, and sometimes that was enough to start healing broken hearts. Days passed, and life in Armin's house slowly began to settle into a new rhythm. Zara and the Quadruplets were no longer just visitors. They had become a part of his world. But the past, like a shadow, lingered close behind. One rainy afternoon, Armin was working in his study when his phone buzzed. The caller ID showed an unknown number. He hesitated, then answered. "Mr. Armin, this is Inspector Khalid. We need to talk about your ex-wife, Zara." Armin's heart skipped a beat. "What is this about?" "There have been reports about some people claiming Zara has been involved in illegal activities," the inspector said gravely. "We need you to come down to the station and answer some questions." Armin felt his chest tighten. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. Zara, in trouble, after everything she had been through. He hung up and looked toward the living room where Zara was playing with the babies. They looked so innocent, so pure. Could there really be a dark secret hiding behind those tired eyes? Armin decided to confront Zara gently. "Zara," he said softly, "someone called me today. They want to talk about you, about some problems." Zara's smile faded. She looked down at her hands, trembling slightly. "There are things from my past," she said quietly. "Things I never told you. I was scared you would leave me if you knew." Armin took her hand. "You don't have to hide anything from me. We are family now. Please, tell me." Zara sighed deeply and began to explain. Years ago, before their divorce, she had made some bad decisions. Desperate and alone, she got involved with the wrong people. At first, it was small things, borrowing money, running errands. But slowly, the situation grew dangerous. When she realized the risk, she tried to get out, but the past didn't let her go easily. That was part of the reason their marriage ended. Armin was shocked and saddened. He had no idea how deep Zara's struggles ran. Armin promised to help her face these challenges. He contacted his lawyer and the police inspector to understand the situation better. He wanted to protect Zara and their children from any harm. But Zara's past wasn't the only problem. Rumors started to spread in the city about Armin's involvement with Zara's troubles. Some business rivals used the news to attack him, trying to ruin his reputation. The office, Armin faced cold stares and whispered conversations, yet he stood firm, knowing that his focus was on his family now. One evening, as Zara watched the babies sleep, she whispered, "I'm scared, Armin. What if this destroys everything?" Armin held her close. "We will face this together. No matter what." The storm outside raged, but inside a new strength was growing. A strength built on truth, trust, and the hope that love could overcome even the darkest past. The next morning, Armin woke up early. The weight of yesterday's revelations still rested heavily on his mind. But today was a new day, one that he decided would be different. He was determined to protect Zara and the Quadruplets from the past that tried to haunt them. Armin went to his office where the usual busy noise surrounded him. But his focus was clear. He called a meeting with his legal team and explained everything: Zara's past, the rumors, and the threats against their family. "We need to act fast," Armin said firmly. "I want to clear her name and protect our children." His lawyer nodded. "We will start by gathering evidence to prove Zara's innocence. Also, we can file a restraining order against anyone trying to harass her." Meanwhile, Zara stayed at home, taking care of the babies with love and patience. Every smile and laugh from the children gave her hope. She had been through so much pain, but now she saw a chance for a better life. Yet the city's whispers didn't stop. Some neighbors eyed Zara suspiciously, and strangers sometimes gave cold looks when they saw her with the babies. One day, a group of men came to Zara's home. They were the same people from her past, threatening, demanding, trying to pull her back into a dark world she wanted to escape. Zara's hands trembled as she stood at the door. She called Armin immediately, voice shaking. "They are here. Please come quickly." Within minutes, Armin arrived. His powerful presence made the men step back, surprised and cautious. "Leave now," Armin said firmly, his voice cold but controlled. "Or you will answer to the law." The men grumbled, but backed off. Armin stayed with Zara until the danger passed. That night, as they sat together, Zara whispered, "I'm scared, Armin. What if they come back?" Armin held her tightly. "I promise I will protect you and the babies. No one will hurt you again." Days turned into weeks. With Armin's help, Zara faced the court and the police. Slowly, the truth came out. Her past mistakes were forgiven, and the real criminals were exposed. Armin's company stood by him, and the people who once doubted Zara started to see her strength and courage. One evening, as the sun set, Armin watched Zara playing with the babies. Tears filled his eyes. "You are a strong woman," he said softly. "Together we will build a new life, full of love and hope." Zara smiled, feeling for the first time that maybe, just maybe, her life was finally changing for the better. Months had passed since Armin and Zara started their new journey together. The shadows of the past were slowly fading, replaced by hope and healing. Zara's strength surprised even herself, and Armin's heart was fuller than ever. One bright morning, Armin woke up to the sound of the quadruplets laughing and playing. Their innocent joy filled the whole house. Zara was preparing breakfast with a smile that seemed brighter than the sun. Armin sat at the table, watching them. He thought about how far they had come, from a dark, painful past to this new life full of love. But the road to happiness was never easy. Just as they began to feel safe, a sudden phone call changed everything. "Mr. Armin, this is Inspector Khalid," the voice said on the other end. "We found new evidence about the people who threatened Zara. They are planning something dangerous." Armin's heart raced. He looked at Zara, who was now holding one of the babies. "We have to be careful," he said quietly. The next days were tense. Armin hired security to protect his family. He worked closely with the police to uncover the full truth. Zara, though scared, never showed it in front of the children. She wanted to be strong for them and for Armin. One afternoon, while Armin was at work, Zara noticed a strange man watching their house. Her heart pounded. She quickly called Armin. "I think someone is following us," she whispered. Armin promised to come home early. When he arrived, he saw the fear in Zara's eyes and knew they had to act fast. Together, they went to the police. The officers took the threat seriously and increased protection. Days later, the police caught the men who were behind the threats. They were arrested and taken away. For the first time in a long time, Zara and Armin felt safe. That evening, they sat together on the porch, the babies sleeping peacefully inside. "We survived the storm," Zara said softly. "And now, we can finally live in peace." Armin smiled, holding her hand. "This is just the beginning of our new life. Together, we are stronger than ever." As the stars shone above, Armin and Zara looked at their children, dreaming of a future filled with happiness, hope, and endless love. The days passed gently, like a soft breeze on a warm summer night. Armin, Zara, and the quadruplets had settled into a life that felt almost like a dream. The pain and struggles of the past seemed far away, replaced by laughter and the promise of a brighter future. One morning, Armin sat in his study, looking out the window. The city buzzed below, but his thoughts were with his family. He knew how much Zara had suffered and how strong she had become. The children's smiles were the most precious thing in his world. Zara entered the room quietly, holding one of the babies. She sat beside Armin and looked into his eyes. "Thank you," she said softly, "for never giving up on us." Armin smiled, feeling a warmth spread through his chest. "We're a family now. No matter what happens, I will always be here for you all." Their days were filled with small joys, morning walks in the park, bedtime stories, and the simple comfort of being together. Each child grew healthy and happy, their giggles filling the house with life. One afternoon, Armin took Zara and the children to visit a special place, a small garden where he planted 4 trees, one for each child. "These trees will grow, strong just like you," he said with a smile. Zara watched the children run and play among the trees, their faces bright with happiness. For the first time in years, she felt a peace she thought she would never know. But life was not without its challenges. Armin still had to balance his work and family, and Zara faced moments of doubt. Yet, together, they faced everything with courage and love. One evening, as the sun set in colors of orange and pink, Armin held Zara's hand. "We have been through so much," he said, "but I believe the future is ours to build." Zara nodded, tears in her eyes. "With you by my side, I believe that too." Their story was no longer about pain or loss. It was about hope, forgiveness, and new beginnings. As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Armin looked at his family, the little hands reaching for him, the smiles of pure joy, and made a silent promise. No matter what tomorrow brings, he would protect them, love them, and never let them go. Because sometimes, even in the darkest moments, love can light the way.